So I would say I was probably feeling about 60% better. The biggest thing I remember is she helped me understand more about inflammation in the body. So I no longer had the joint and the foot pain, aches and pains when I would get out of bed in the morning. So all that went away. My sleep got better. It got much, much better after FDN, but it improved. So all the other things I was experiencing improved, but I still had some work to do. And I was literally shocked when I did get to do my lab kits as a trainee and I got the results back. I actually almost cried because I thought that I was so much healthier, and I was, but I still had lots of work to do. And so I just had to take a couple minutes and have a little pity party. And then I was like, all right, you've got the information. Let's keep moving forward.
Can we talk about, if you remember, what were some of the biggest findings that maybe were shocking to you? Because for those that don't know, we actually include the lab tests that we recommend in our FDN foundational labs as part of the program. And nowadays, what's cool, this is different than even when you went through, we include all of the labs. So there was one missing when you went through, there was like four missing when I went through back in the day, 8 years ago. Now you get all of them. You're going to run them while you're in the course, and you actually get to look over the results through multiple sessions with your mentor here at FDN. You'll actually have a couple of mentors if you want. So when you went over those, what were some of maybe like the specific findings that were particularly of interest to you?
Yeah. So on my stress and hormone panel, I was really sad that I was in exhaustive phase. Now it was almost 4 years after leaving my career. And I thought, wow, my cortisol is still in the tank. Like it's still, that made me really sad. My mucosal barrier assessment, I had leaky gut, so everything was all messed up. My GI map, I had a parasite, I had H. pylori. I had given up gluten already, like when I started working with the naturopath, so probably 2 years, but I wasn't in a completely gluten-free home. And so my anti-gliadin was off the chart. Like it was that greater than 500 thing. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even eat it. I'm not even eating gluten. And look at this. So it was stuff like that was like, wow, what have I been doing these last several years?
Yeah, it is bittersweet, especially if someone was doing as much work as you did before coming in. And I know that you kind of jokingly said, although it was probably true at the time, you're having a pity party. But the flip side of this is why these labs, because people always say, like, how did you come up to Reed Davis, the founder? Like, how did you come up with these foundational labs? And the reality is they're so sensitive for certain things. They can even be preventative that if you actually run these, you're going to find things long before problems manifest like consciously, right? You could find things before symptoms manifest. And certainly if you're already dealing with symptoms, this is how you're going to find the downstream stuff. So I think about this and I'm looking at you and your career path and what you were able to do. You can't go into what you did for work and be a dumb person. So I have an intelligent person in front of me that clearly is willing to work hard and study hard, was on this path for 4 years, and still there were things that needed to be addressed and fixed. This is why I believe these messages need to be shared as often as we can, and why we do 3 podcasts a week on average, and why I encourage everyone to share their story, because there are people out there that, let's be honest, maybe they're not as smart as you and they're not nearly as hardworking and diligent with the research. How the heck do they stand a chance in this modern world where we got the water poison, the food's poison? I know we're making some progress, but guys, it's going to take a lot more than some government mandates to fix these issues. This is people voting with their dollars, and we needed them to vote with their dollars yesterday. The only way that you get someone to vote with their dollars is by informing them and freeing them from ignorance, because you're never going to spend $4 more for the organic peanut butter unless you understand what you're actually investing in. And you might even be at the next level where you're not eating peanut butter sometimes because you got candida or something like that, right? Um, so when you were able to flip this around, you get out of the pity party and you start to realize, okay, there's a lot that I can do. Was there a moment where it became more of a positive thing and you said, okay, thank God I'm finding this at least, and hey, I'm ready to tackle this?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I literally really did spend like a minute or two a little teary and oh my gosh, poor me. And then I thought, All right, this is information. Information is powerful. Knowledge is powerful. I got my results very shortly before my results session with my mentor. And so it was maybe 30 minutes after that we start going through them. And I thought, okay, this is going to be okay. I can do this.
Yeah. Especially with the gluten, what new changes were necessary to address these lab results? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, if you weren't in a gluten-free household, that's already one thing. Whitney Morgan's beating us with a wooden spoon somewhere out there. That's one of our clinical advisors for those that don't know. And she is very strict with that, and for good reason. She has
Yes,
data to back that up. So how did that affect your life? Because now you're probably asking other people to change things too, I would have to imagine.
I did. Yes. So my husband was mostly gluten free at the time as well. Our son was not. And so I told him, like, I can't have this stuff in the house. We have to change our cutting boards because we had wooden cutting boards. We had the wooden spoons that you cook with, and they had touched gluten. Like those particles, like they stick, those little bitty particles stick in everything. We were storing food in plastic that gluten had been stored in prior. So, all these things that you don't know about until you really dive into this stuff and you get exposed to someone who's an expert like Whitney, you learn you have to replace all those things and not have gluten in this kitchen again. And so that's what we do. Our son still likes hamburger bun for his burgers and that kind of thing. And I'm like super strict about, all right, if you get that out, it's like right here. It's only on this part of the kitchen. You're going to clean it really good and you're not going to use the towel that we use to dry our hands.